Gen 10 is almost guaranteed to come out this year, and I started thinking, what does Gen 10 need to be the perfect Pokemon game? It's the 30th anniversary, so I would really like a really fleshed out good game, and I think we need that. The past few Pokemon games have been really good, but they've all felt like they've missed something, especially Scarlet and Violet. So I want to talk about what Gen 10 needs to be the perfect Pokemon game. So the first one is no testing, like they did in other games. Because in Sword and Shield, they tested a lot of open world aspects. They had a lot of places where it was sort of open world like, and I believe that was a way of testing that. And then in Legends Arceus, they sort of tested that as well, but in a more bigger way and a more fleshed out way. They also tested a new battle system, a little bit of a different battle system, and a little bit of a different type of game as well. Like with the whole catching system and how you catch Pokemons. And then in Scarlet and Violet, we had an open world game, but it felt still a little bit of a testing. We had no level scaling or anything like that. It felt like they still wanted to test more of the open world aspect. They also wanted to test the battles that you could do out in the open. The auto battles, which was like, yeah, it felt testing for Legends CA now when I'm looking at Legends CA, you know. And the whole thing with following these different paths as well. And then we got Legends CA, which felt more fleshed out, but it felt still testing. You know, the battle system felt testing, the continuation of just how Legends games work testing, and all of that. The new battle system is really cool, but it still felt like a continuation of testing that, to see if it worked, to see if it was nice. And I don't want this for Gen 10. I want it to be a fleshed out game. Because I don't want them testing things around. I want them to have learned all of this and then just make a game on that. We don't need any more new features that they want to test. I don't want anything like auto battles that is new, that isn't really fleshed out, that is kind of weird. And you know, I want it to look good, I want it to be nice, so no more testing. They can obviously add more things, they can obviously build on the things that they have tested. But I still want there to be no really testing, you know, I want them to know what they've done and use that to make a really good Gen 10 game. So I hope that makes sense. Second, I would like to be able to switch between battle systems. Obviously Champions is coming out, and I think that it's coming out because they want to have the turn-based system there. They want that to be there, but I still think that Gen 10 at least should have that system. And I think it should also have the Legends CA system. Because now they have that, and they have really two good systems, and I want them to be able to switch between them in Gen 10. They don't need to be able to continue with that in the future, but right now on Gen 10, I think that's a really good idea. I think that would make the game way more fun and just a lot of interesting, and it would make Gen 10 really, really good. It would also be a way of people moving on from the turn-based to the new one, and I think it's also really good to just have different type of battle system in this if they're about to switch anyway, and I think it would make the perfect Pokemon game. Third, difficulty settings. I think this is something we have asked a lot, a lot of people ask this from my experience, and I think this is really needed, because people are getting better and better at Pokemon and having easier time in Pokemon, and obviously that is now a little bit of a change with the whole new system, but that's also gonna scare the old players who like the old system, and with a difficulty setting that could be really nice. If we're gonna have this new system, we could make some a little bit harder and some a little bit easier, and it could work for both the systems, so just having difficulty settings. And I believe that we could also make this a custom one, so not just easy, normal, and hard, and super difficult like that. I think we could have a custom one where, oh yeah, if a Pokemon dies, it's dead, like that, or Pokemons are higher level than you, things like that, and Pokemon have items, the AIs are better, all of that. I feel like that would be really, really cool, and I think that would make it a lot of fun. Just difficulty settings in general. I would obviously be happy with just regular, difficulty settings, but even better ones where you can have custom ones would be really nice, and I think that would match a perfect Pokemon game very well, and I think we all want difficulty settings. Fourth, I think this is a little bit of a controversial one, but bring back the National Pokédex. I know that a lot of people have wanted this, and also I feel like this might be a little bit of a controversial one, because Obviously, you want different Pokemons in different Pokemon games. Maybe you don't want all of them, and maybe that would make a mess. But I believe that we want all the Pokemons in Gen 10. Because, like, be able to play with every single Pokemon in Gen 10 would be so nice. Like, obviously that would make it so you can't have a DLC with new Pokemons, but just make Pokemons really rare and hard to shiny hunt or stuff like that, and then in the DLC you make them less rare and easier to shiny hunt, for example. That would be a lot of fun. And I think bringing back the National Dex would be really good. Be able to play with all 1000 Pokemons plus new Pokemons would be a lot of fun. And I believe that even better, make it so the newer Pokemons are way more common in the beginning, and then the older Pokemons become more and more common. That would be really nice, so you can experience these new Pokemons, and all the Pokemon trainers will have new Pokemons, their aces will be new Pokemons, all of that, but we can still have every single Pokemon. And I think that would be really nice. It will also just make it so you can have so many different teams every time you play. But I'm gonna talk about that more a little bit later. But just in general, who wouldn't want every single Pokemon in Gen 10? Fifth, making the game feel more alive, and not as empty as some of the games have been, and not as emotionless. I would like more life to the game. Imagine being able to walk into houses and stores like you were able to do in the previous games, but in a newer game. And I would really like that, because it would bring more life. Obviously, maybe not every house, because that would be a little bit weird, but still really cool. Maybe you can knock on houses, sort of talk to the people that live there, see their homes. Maybe people can walk around and do stuff. And as the game progresses, they change what they're doing. You could see some kids playing in a playground, and then maybe when you come back later, they're not there anymore. They've switched places, and you can't find them there. But maybe they are eating ice cream, something like that. And maybe you can also see, oh yeah, you can see two people here, they're fighting, and then when you come back a little later, they have other Pokemons fighting each other. You know, that would be very interesting. I don't like when they're just walking back and forth or standing still. It's not very nice. I believe that this can be kind of random. We don't need it to be perfect, but just more things happening when they're doing more stuff. And also for Pokemon, just have more of them, see more, like, do more stuff, have more life. Make the Pokemon seem like they have more emotions, because a lot of the 3D sprites doesn't look like they have a lot of emotions. I would also love more side quests like we had in Legends CA. The side quests were so much fun, and they are so much fun, and be able to help people and stuff like that. And then maybe you trade with someone and you give them a Pokemon, and then you can see them walk around later. That would be so amazing. And then maybe you can battle them after, and like you battle your Pokemon that you gave it. And with that, being able to just challenge people on the street, not everyone of course, but maybe people that are trainers, you can go up to their channels with some sort of level scaling, where, you know, if you have 4 gym badges, they also are on that level, and if you're in the post game, they also are on a higher level. That would be a lot of fun. And maybe you can also do so, you know, they have 2 Pokemon, so you can only have 2 Pokemon as well. That would be so cool. I would love that. Just be able to battle them. And then I don't think it's too difficult to just give them random teams, you know, just give them 2 Pokemons that exist in the Pokédex, that aren't legendaries, and that are some evolved and some not. I think that could be really cool and really interesting. And then 6, I would want open world with scaling. This is really important in my opinion. Open world for a Pokemon game works really well. I would like to see all the Pokemons in the area and not in the grass like we had in Scarlet and Violet, or like in the past Pokemon games, in the Legends games as well. You know, just like that. And I think that's really good and really important. Level scaling in this as well, like we didn't have in Scarlet and Violet. I thought that was a flop so bad that we didn't have the level scaling. So I would love to just walk to a random gym and then fight them, and then they see, oh, you have no badges, so they take their easiest team or lowest level team, and then you fight them. That would be so cool. The level scaling would be so nice. Just all the trainers as well. Any trainer you battle with that level scaling, it's just so nice. And I think that's what a open world game needs, and Pokemon works really well with open world and needs scaling. And I don't think this should be the same for the Pokemon you encounter. I think that the wild Pokemon can be a different level, but I think they should scale sort of. So in different areas they can be higher level. when they are evolved, they can be higher level. But I believe that you should be able to come back to an old area and they have a little bit higher level. They don't need to be like really high, but level like 6, 5, 3 Pokemons become level 15, 20, you know, something like that. And that would be really nice. Just, yeah, I think that would be really good and make the game better. And then 7th, a very simple one, no version exclusive of new Pokemons. I don't really mind version exclusives if they really want 2 separate games to be able to trade with each other. But new Pokemons, I think everyone should be able to play with those, even though they don't have online or any friends to trade with. I think that is very important. All of the new Pokemons should not be version exclusive. And this is also something they could do if the national dex is there. Then they can have like, I don't know, 50 Pokemons, not lines, 50 Pokemons being version exclusive. So you have 25 Pokemons in the one and then 25 in the other one, just to separate. And I think that would be really nice, really cool, to, you know, instead of having the newer Pokemons. And obviously I don't like version exclusives, but if that's something they would want to do to also have the national dex, that would work very well. So like 25 of the old Pokemons are only for one game and then 25 are for the other one. I think that could work pretty well. I don't like it, but still, yeah. So genuinely no version exclusive at all, but at the most important, no version exclusive of the new Pokemons. And that includes like the evolution thing with Sharkadet. 8th, no trading evolution needed. I think trading evolution is the worst evolution method, and especially when you need a specific item for it. So scrap all of those, no evolution. You can still do it, but for the ones with an item, you just evolve it with the item. And then for the ones that are just trading, you just have the linking cord like in Legends CA or Legends Arceus. That would just be so much better. I hate trading evolutions. I would like some more interesting evolutions. You could also change the evolutions to something else, to be something related to the area. Like, people say that Yamask, Galarian Yamask has a very weird evolution, but I think it's very interesting and pretty cool. And you know, I like those kind of evolutions. Maybe not that much, but something similar. And I think that would be really cool and just really nice to just have instead of any trading evolutions. I hate trading evolutions. So add more interesting evolutions. And no trading evolutions. We don't need them. And then we have 9. Voice acting or voice when people talk. It doesn't need to be a real language. This is just, a lot of games have their own sort of language, you know? Where the people talk, but you don't understand them. That would just bring more life to the whole thing, to the whole story. You would be more like interested. Even with that, obviously voice acting would be really nice, but Pokemon has always been this game where you read, and I think that might be messed up for like the kids that learn how to read, for example. So just having that would bring more life, bring more interest, see that someone is talking instead of it just being music and then nothing else. I think that's very boring. And I think we should have voice acting, especially in the cutscenes. All of this, yeah, the cutscenes that are quiet, where people are just smiling and then sorta talking, it's so weird. I don't like that. So having voice acting there, and then they could have some sounds when people talk over just text. But in the cutscenes, it would be especially very nice with actual voice acting. Something we haven't had in a long time is 10th. Ride Pokemon and interact with them more. For example, you know, just be able to ride any Pokemon, or the ones you can't ride, you can just interact with them in another way. You can have a Pikachu on your shoulder, or another Pokemon on your shoulder. That would be very nice. Maybe you can have it out doing other stuff, you know, something like that if you can't ride them. But most importantly, ride Pokemons. Because I don't think we should have any like specific Pokemon to be able to ride. I think you should be able to ride every single Pokemon that is big enough to do this. And this is gonna be more difficult with a national dex. But then you can have specific Pokemons that you're able to ride on. And I think that is just perfect. And you could even, you know, level up the like riding abilities. So maybe you can't do all of them at first. You need different saddles, for example. So the first saddle you get is in the beginning of the game, where you can ride a Pokemon just regularly. Then you can start flying on them, and then you can start doing it on water. Then you can start, you know, climbing with them. All of that. I would think that is very interesting, and I think that's a good way of having, not OP in the beginning where you can fly anywhere with your Pokemon. I think that's very important. But just in general, riding your Pokemons, like we were able to do in Let's Go. If you watched this far, please feel free to subscribe and like the video. I would really appreciate it, and it would be really nice. And if you watched this far, you have to enjoy my content. And yeah, I would appreciate it a lot. Let's continue with the video. 11. Boss battles. This is something that I would really like. I think that there should be, obviously we have the regular battles that are just trainers, we have the gym battles, we have the Elite Four, we have other type of battles, maybe another type of story with battles, but boss battles would be really nice, where you go up against a special Pokemon, something related to the story, something like that, or just a really strong Pokemon you can find out there, a super strong Ursaluna. Now that was a bad example, but yeah, you understand. A super strong Pokemon that you can just fight, and this could even work later on with the other Pokemon, like the legendaries. And I think the boss battles would be really good, and they don't need to be important to the story. Maybe some, but not all. I would like boss battles that you can just find and do, and then maybe do again later, and maybe you can catch these Pokemon and they're stronger in some way. They have perfect IVs and like things like that. I think that would be really interesting, and also bring more life to the game, Just have these boss battles around the map that you can find, and maybe they spawn differently, maybe they spawn every now and then, so any Pokemon can be a boss to go up and fight it, and that would be so cool. And it's a harder battle, so you need to lock in, it can be like the battles in Legends CA, the boss battles there. That would be so cool in a way, I would love that. And they don't need to be as fleshed out as those. If we're doing these like battles, real-time battles, that Pokemon can just use its regular moves in real-time battle. I think that would be so perfect. It would also make it so you just, in the middle of your story, you just, oh, now I want to go and fight this boss that just appeared. That would be really nice. And even trainers can be boss battles, maybe there's a trainer that's terrorizing a place or destroying a place, you have to go and defeat that guy. And I think that would be a lot of fun and just really good. Then I have a honorable mention. This honorable mention is randomized Pokemon game. And that sounds crazy, but obviously we would have offline and no Pokemon Home connection. So it's just a game. When you reset it, everything disappears. You can't bring anything from it or anything like that. It's stuck in the game, everything like that. But I believe that you should be able to make the game a randomized game. So in the beginning, you can just go to a secret setting where you pick, of course, difficulty. But then there is even a second one where you click on, and then you go to randomized options. Do you want to randomize? You click that on, and if it's on, it warns you that, oh yeah, you cannot connect to anything. This game is connected to you, only this. You can't trade, you can't do anything, you can't bring them anywhere, and all of that. Obviously, I don't think they're gonna do this. That's why it's an honorable mention. No game has ever done this, but it would be so much fun to be able to replay it like that. Go and have a randomized game like that. It would be so cool. I would love that. And maybe even with online, but only with people who are also on a randomized playthrough. That would be so cool. So you can maybe battle these people with a randomized team. And I hope that one day will happen. But it's a honorable mention for a reason, because I don't believe that it will ever happen. But still, really cool. 12. I believe that we need a good and fleshed out story without the DLC. Because in Scarlet and Violet, the story wasn't completely finished. We had to continue with the DLC. I don't like that. I think that the story should be only the game and full fleshed out. It should have this main thing that we go through, and then just all of that is answered in there. We get all of the answers, we get different secrets, different stuff like that. You can even have secrets everywhere on the map, where you're like, oh, you meet a person that knows something, but you only know it if you talk to them. It has nothing to do with the main story, but it tells you something. You don't need to talk to it for the complete story, but you get some secrets about the story. I would love that, but just a fleshed out story in the game. I think that's really important without any DLC. The DLC can bring more story, not to the story, but the way they did it in Legend CA, where they had a new place, they had a new area, a new story. That's more what I would like. A really well fleshed out story, and then the DLC can continue on that. 13th, one of the most important ones. Good post game. We need a really good post game. Like I said with the whole story thing, the story thing does not need to be complete in the main story. It can be completed in the post game, in my opinion. I think that would be a little interesting, where you can like go to different areas, and maybe even the post game changes how the map looks. That would be so cool. This includes with the live thing as well, where things start changing as the game goes on. In the post game, after the post game, a big event has happened, so some area has changed. That would be awesome. And also, I believe that you should be able to battle people at level 100. I believe that any battle that are replayable should be level 100 at that point. Or maybe you have a level scaling there as well. So you start the continuation of that story, of the post-game story, which could just be mainly battles, where you can either pick the level, or you start at 80, you defeat them all, and then when you've defeated them all, they go up to 90 or 100. And then also returning characters. I would like to have Red. Imagine being able to battle Red at level 100, or Cynthia, all of that. So cool. And like I said, can add scaling to that as well. That would be awesome to just have the scaling of these battles. So maybe you can scale down a battle to level 25, where you have to battle like with level 25 Pokemons, or your team gets lowered, or you have to catch new Pokemons. I would love that in different ways. So you can challenge them in those ways. So you have a harder time. You can make it so you only need 3 Pokemons against someone with 3 Pokemons. For example, like that. I would love that. A post-game would be... also post-game would be that. Just really good battles, interesting battles. Also, legendaries and mythicals. I believe that legendaries should be able to... You should be able to find them every now and then. I believe that this could match with side quests, or maybe just different events that happens throughout the main story, throughout the post-game story. So cool. The same with mythicals, but I believe they should be a little bit more different, a little bit more mystical, you know, a little bit more mythical. I believe that it would be so cool if you can find them over the map, but in a little bit of a rare way, a little bit of a different way, a little bit of a story way. We talk to someone who's find this Pokemon, and yeah, and have an epic battle against them, and then be able to catch them as this, you know, the post game. If we're gonna have every single Pokemon, we need all of the mythicals, all of the legendaries. Maybe that can even be the boss battles that appear. I would also love mini games that you can find over the map, where maybe you need to have a Pokemon that knows a really strong fire type move, and you need to do something like that. You need to melt ice, for example. So, mini games that you challenge. You can challenge your friends, you can challenge AIs, all of that. I think that would be really cool. Different type of mini games. Because then you have more to do, and then you can earn stuff from it that are good. Items that you can use for battles, items that you can only get from there. Maybe you can get some special evolutions like Ursaluna through minigames in the post-game. That would be awesome. And then throughout the post-game, I believe that you should be able to use Pokemons that you weren't able to use earlier. So you can use Pokemons that are post-game only in the post-game at these level 100 battles. I think that would be awesome. Give a reason to continue playing. Better shiny hunting, or interesting ways to shiny hunt, different ways to shiny hunt in different areas, and all of that. More side quests in the post game that just add more stuff. I think that would be so awesome. More ways to collect. I think that's very important, and I think that would be perfect post game. And number 14, the last one. Better replayability. For example, a setting where you can say that you've already played the game and you can skip all of the cutscenes and all of the dialogue. You can just press a button and you can skip it. I think a setting like that would be really nice. Also, just better replayability where there's more stuff to do. Where like different stuff happens depending on what you do. So maybe you do a battle, for example, you do this battle first before another battle, gym battles, and then dialogue changes, or something changes with those battles, or something changes with those gym leaders. They have different dialogue, different events happens. Would be really nice. Different endings as well. Obviously, that might be too difficult, but I would still love that. Different endings. Don't even have to be many. Maybe just 3. That would be so cool. Maybe even just 2. But just different endings, and there could be small differences. We have done stuff where you feel like it's a new experience. Would be so important and so nice. And with all of the stuff that I've mentioned, I believe that would just give better replayability as well. Like the boss battles, the side quests, being able to battle anything, you know, all of that. I think that would be really cool. National decks, yeah. And the most important thing, no really long intro or like tutorial. We don't need an hour-long tutorial or a 30-minute tutorial. 10 minutes would be enough, and then you can go off and do whatever, and then you can continue with the story later. That would be really nice. You can just, you know, go and catch Pokemons 15 minutes in. You know, that would be so much fun. And I believe that is the perfect replayability for a Pokemon game. And that is what I hope Gen 10 will be, to be the perfect Pokemon game. I would love this, and this is obviously my opinion, so please let me know your opinion in the comments. I would love to read them, hear about them, and answer to them what I think about them. Tell me if I forgot anything, or if one of these you hate them, you would not want this in a Pokemon game, you know? Please feel free to tell me that, and also feel free to subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed this video and enjoy my content. I actually have a video right here, I was to go to the wrong side, but right here, where I make Ash's Pokemon team for Legends CA. I think it's a really good video. But other than that, I hope to see you there or in a future video. So yeah, see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your night, day, morning, or whatever. Peace out, and don't forget to follow.